So here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to prioritize our dollars. How does that work? Well, each month we have a certain amount of money to live off of, and we're going to give a priority to each dollar that comes in. Guess what? It's payday, and you just got paid $100. As a Christian, we believe that the first 10% of what God gives us goes back to God through the church. So if you're taking notes, our first priority is the tithe. The first 10% of $100 goes back to God through the church. That's the first priority. Our second priority, if you're taking notes, is our expenses. You have to eat, you have to sleep somewhere, but guess what? Our living expenses have been, well, a little higher than they should be because we're spending money on some things that we shouldn't buy. Unfortunately, we've been living paycheck to paycheck, and our remaining $90 has been going into the expense budget. But here's the good news. You've embraced the value of sacrifice. We're going to give up something we love for something we love even more. You've embraced the value of self-control. We're going to say no for a little while so we can say yes for the rest of our lives. We've embraced the value of planning. We're going to have a budget. We're telling every dollar where to go. And with our new values, because we've been aggressive, maybe we sold a car and got a less expensive one. Maybe you stopped drinking expensive caffeinated drinks. Maybe you stopped eating out. And after your aggressive planning, you've managed to cut your expenses $20 a month. And guess what we're going to do with the extra $20? This is going to go to the priority of the emergency fund. Remember last week we talked about putting aside $1,000. We're going to work our buns off to set this money aside for emergency, so our extra $20 goes to the emergency fund. Now, here's some more good news. You've been tithing, and God blessed you. You got to babysit this month, and you got an extra $10 for babysitting. You also sold something on eBay, and you got $20. So we tithe from our income. This goes to God, and that gives us an extra $29 to put toward our emergency fund. And guess what? Before long, it's payday again, and the cycle continues. Not only did you get $100 for your normal job, but an extra $10 again for babysitting, and your rich uncle died and left you $20, totaling $130 this month. The priority, the first 10%, goes to God through the tithe. Then we put the next $70 toward our expenses. And guess what? We've got $47 to go toward our emergency fund, and in no time at all, you'll have your $1,000 emergency fund fully funded, and you've accomplished the first priority. Congratulations, time to celebrate, and now your priorities changed. Instead of trying to put money to the emergency fund, now we have a new bucket, and we call it, if you're taking notes, the debt bucket. Here's how it works. It's payday again. And what are you going to do? You're going to tithe, and you're going to pay your expenses. And everything that you have left, everything you can earn and scratch together now goes toward debt. You remember last week we talked about the debt snowball. We're going to get aggressive and pay down debt every single month. What do? We get paid, we tithe, we put money toward our expenses, and then we put everything toward the debt snowball. And here's the great news. If you don't give up, if you hang in there, if you watch for the blessings of God and put it all toward your debt, you will become debt-free, except for the house. And again, it's time to celebrate, not with a shopping trip to Neiman Marcus, but go to a movie and buy popcorn and overpriced candy. Why? Because you are now debt-free, and the priorities change once again. Now the priority is not debt, but instead, you've got a new bucket, and this bucket is called invest or build wealth. And this is what happens. You've been faithful to God with the tithe, and God has blessed you with a raise. Your new income is now $130 a month. Congratulations, you've been blessed. What do? The first 10% goes to God in the tithe. Then the priorities actually rotate. We give to God first, and then second, we invest for our future. How do we invest? We actually take 15% of our income and put it into a pre-taxed retirement account. That's about $20 we give to God first, and then we invest, and then we pay our expenses, and what is this? We've got lots and lots of money left over. What can we do? We can give an offering. We can give to someone who's in need. We can help feed hungry children. We can invest more. And you can even get your nails done with little polka dots on it, ladies, for other women, because we know you don't do it for men, you do it for each other. What do we have? If we're faithful with what God gives us, He will trust us with more. We're going to give up something we love for something we love even more. We're going to say no for a little while so we can say yes for the rest of our lives. And if we'll live like no one else, one day we can give like no one else. Because if we're faithful with a little, God will trust us with a lot.